to move on and really look at a list of cultural differences that we're already aware of and we know will probably come up in your home. Now, one of the first ones is chores. Most Chinese do not do chores at home. However, it's not because they're lazy, but because their parents do not require it of them. Now, this is a value issue. For Chinese parents, the highest value for them is education. Education is above all else, and everything else tends to be subservient to that. And so for the Chinese parent, it's more important that the child spend time doing homework than it is doing chores. So Chinese students seldom do chores, however, they do spend every waking moment studying. The life of a Chinese child goes like this. They get up in the morning and they go to school. They arrive at school very early. They're in school to maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. They come home, they have maybe an hour at home, and then they go off to a cram school, and they're there till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Then they come home and they study till midnight. That is a typical habit, and it's because of the value placed on education. So with regards to chores, you'll not only have to outline what chores that you expect of the student, but you'll probably in the beginning have to spend a little bit of time actually showing them how the chore has to be done. So that segues very nicely into the next topic, and that is academics over social competency. Chinese students, because the overwhelming cultural pressure on them is to study, 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 to be good at academics. Their parents sacrifice a lot of time, their parents work very, very long hours, so these students can get a good education. And so it's very difficult to get students to socialize with you. Like if your family is going for a day out, more than likely the child will decline. And it's not because they don't want to spend time with you, but it's because taking off to socialize or to take off for a day is the closest thing to a cardinal sin for them, because they feel like their parents have sacrificed for them to have this kind of education, that they should not squander it. And so because they spend so much time involved in their studies, what little time they do have to socialize, they treasure it and they tend to hoard it for those things that they value very highly. So probably like getting out to go to the mall might be a little bit more important to them. However, as you know, the students are going through a very similar orientation class, and they're going to be encouraged to spend time with you, because that's part of building up their language, building up their social competency. And now to my favorite topic, that of toilets. Toilets the world over are very different. They range from the sitting kind to the squatting time. And toilet habits the world over are also very different. So much so that you go into toilets throughout the world and they have very clear posted signs to help you to be able to use their toilet so that your toilet experience would be a good one. Now, one of the things that we should point out is that in China, you do not flush the toilet paper, okay? You put it in the trash can. Now, your student has lived their entire life with this habit. It's ingrained in them, and so it's a very hard habit to break, and certainly one that can't be broken overnight. But if you are constantly seeing that they're not flushing the toilet paper, please feel free to remind them again and again that it is okay to flush the toilet paper down the toilet. So we move from toilets to showers. Now the thing in China is that showers are seldom separated out from the rest of the bathroom. If you look at these two pictures, it illustrates that if you take a shower in a Chinese bathroom, then the entire bathroom gets soaked. So we need to point out that if you have the kind of shower that has a shower curtain, you may need to mention to your student that the curtain needs to be drawn while they're taking a shower. You may also want to let them know that the plastic part of your shower curtain goes on the inside of the bathtub, and that the material part of the shower curtain goes on the outside of the shower. So let's talk about punctuality. Every culture has its own idea of punctuality. In Germany, if the party is supposed to start at 6, you can bet it starts at 6. Now in Arab countries, what time you show up for the party depends on your status in society. You show up early if you're lower class, you show up later if you're higher class. Then again in Africa, the party starts when you arrive. Now the Chinese, they have about a 15 to 20 minute swing as to what constitutes being on time. So I might recommend that old tried and true trick of if they have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, you might want to tell them that they actually have to be there at 8:45. The other thing is they do have a habit of studying very late into the night. This is what they do at home. And so getting up early for school is not their strongest trait. So they may need to be roused 2 or 3 times in the morning. But eventually, they need to get into the habit of getting themselves up, getting themselves prepared, and getting themselves out the door. So again, we're only asking to assist your help for the first couple of months. Now, we've looked at a couple of cultural issues that have to do with a difference in values. And now I want to mention a couple which have to do with emotional expression, which is very different from ours. And first is the Chinese habit of averting the eyes. Polite behavior in every country varies. Now, because you, the host family, you are parents, you are elders, the Chinese student will not look you in the eye when having a conversation, because this is considered very, very rude in Chinese culture. Chinese kids always avert their eyes when speaking to elders. So please, we encourage you, do not feel that they are being rude, don't feel that they are not listening or that they're not interested in what you have to say. They are simply acting very, very polite for Asian culture. Another example of this is that Asians tend to smile when being scolded. When Asians get embarrassed, they smile. This is a perfectly normal and natural reaction. And so when you scold your student, their most likely response is that they're going to smile. Now, this is not being rude, and it's not a smirk. When Asians are embarrassed, they smile. So it's the same, it's a knee-jerk reaction. They can't prevent it any more than we can stop our cheeks going red. So please don't feel that they are being rude or that they're not listening to you. When they smile, it shows that your rebuke is actually getting through to them. So let me just conclude this session by really summarizing the basics of what I think you will need to help this whole experience go really well. The first thing is that for both parties, both you and your students, to have a great deal of understanding and empathy. And of course, number 2, patience would always be a very good thing. Thirdly, there is definitely going to have to be a lot of compromise. Both parties are going to have to adjust to the differences that will be required to live together harmoniously. We really hope that within the home there'll be a great deal of encouragement, both from you to your student, but also your student back to you. And probably the most important thing is to keep a sense of humor. You will really need it. And also, lastly, let me say that don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. Well, this brings us to the end of this 3-part video series, and I want to thank you for your patience and your time and for joining me in this journey as we learn about culture. I just want to say thank you on behalf of Ivy Bridge again for opening your home to these students, and I wish you all a fun-filled and wonderful experience with your students.